Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Elham Yaqubian, and on behalf of Chamber of Commerce, I would like to invite you to listen to our program. One of the best LA Chamber of Mission is to appreciate, illustrate, and illuminate the intellectual, cultural, and literary parts of our society as a component of our social activities in this program. On a monthly basis, the writers, thinkers, and literary activists of our community will be introduced and appreciated by our members. Our honored guest of tonight is Mehrnoosh Mazarei, whom I have no pleasure of knowing him for many years. She was born and raised in Iran and moved to Southern California in November 1979. Ms. Mazarei co-founded and edited Furugh, the first Persian magazine dedicated to women and literature between 1989 and 1991. She has published 4 short story collections in Persian and a novel in English. A Stranger in My Room, a collection of her selected short stories published in Iran in 2004. It has nominated twice for Best First Book of Short Stories. The titled story, Stranger in My Bed, was reviewed as an outstanding modernist story in the textbook, Short Story in Iran. Another story, Sangam, was selected and anthologized as one of the 10 best short stories published in that year. Although Mehrnoosh's books are now banned from publishing in Iran due to the feminist political content of them, her short stories have been praised by critics and scholars and have been categorized as distinguished modernist and feminist short writings in Farsi. Mazarei's stories have been published in the Narrative Magazine USA, the Literary Review, 80 Years Iranian Short Stories, West Coast Lines about American pop culture, the short stories of the world, and most recently in Al-Alam, Iraqi daily newspaper. She lived in Valley Center, California with her husband. They grew certified organic avocado, grapefruits, and other exotic fruits. I myself am witness of that. Mernoosh works as a computer system analyst. I would like to invite Ms. Mazarei to talk for us today, and I want to take advantage of the podium and ask the first question. I read your book, and knowing you and your background, I'm curious if this book is an autobiography. So please welcome and
thank you, John, and I would like to thank the Chamber of Commerce, West LA Chamber of Commerce, for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to be here. And going back to your question, yeah, I get this question all the time because Mina, the heroine of this book, is almost my age and moved to US the same age, the same year that I moved. So, and there are a lot of events and incidents in the book that comes from my personal experience, but it's a fiction story. Mina is not me. Mina is a fiction, a person that has her own life. Things. I just lended her some of my experience, and also, not just my own experience, my friends' experience, the women of my generation, which is intellectual women. They were born in certain time of, certain time history of Iran that is full of Iran-American, relationship, and started with the CIA's coup d'etat in Iran, and then ends up with the probably at the end the the book ends in September 11, 2001. So maybe it's not directly, based on having anything to do with the Iran-American relationship, but it is kind of, it's just coming things, and this our generation that we come from Iran here, and finally, some of us get affected by the what or thing that happens in U.S. in U.S. and even September 11. So that's what it is. It's just some similarities. Some people are like my friends that I know them, but no, Mina is a person of her own. So I don't know how to proceed. I don't have any things ready, anything to discuss. I would like to answer if there is any question. Anyone read the book, and I can read part of the book.
That would be great.
If you don't have, you can ask me a question if you want it, and then I can continue if there is any question in that. No. I was usually, before in my other meetings and other talks, I started from some of the very first chapter of the book. But then I was asked that why you always, read it when it's Iran, it's like that piece of that, which I really like that piece, and I got good reaction to that piece. But then I decided to go to the end. So this part is starting. The one that I usually was reading was called Caspian Sea, a city, in north of Iran, Caspian Sea, and this is Tijuana, and Tijuana is in the border of the people that are living in San Diego. They know how close it is, and the people go there for dinner or lunch or something. So this is at the end of it, where Mina is older. She is probably in this part about like her mid-40s or early 40s. And packed with throngs of people, Avenida Revolution evoked a distant memory of Lalezar and Tubkhane Square in Mina's mind. Little boys and girls rushed to sell them knickknacks, chewing gum, flowers, cheap handicrafts, and silver-plated jewelries. A store sold leather goods, blankets, and other souvenirs of Mexico. Short Indian women with straight dark hair framing their round faces, seemingly sitting necklace on their shoulders, carried babies on their backs while being surrounded by more children of every size and age. Some of them spread out their art crafts before them to sell to passerby. Car horns diverted Mina's attention every few seconds. As they approached the middle of the street, they saw more signs of bars and liquor stores on both sides. Loud booming music came from the speakers and filled the street. In the entrance of the bars, men with welcoming smiles invited them inside. The bars were full of young men, women, and even more some teenagers who came from America to spend the weekend in town. Photographs of half-naked women appeared in some windows. A small boy of 7 or 8 years, carrying necklaces and earrings, approached Mina and pulled on her blouse. Mina stopped. The boy immediately separated a necklace from the bunch hanging from his hand and offered it to her. "For you, Senora, good for you." Mina smiled, patted the boy's head, and continued on her way. Michael stopped and asked the price. "For you, $10, said the boy innocently. Michael fetched a $10 bill and paid for the necklace. A couple of blocks earlier, a woman offered me the same necklace for $5, said Mina, smiling. "I'm sure if you bargain with them, you can even buy it for $2. My government has robbed this little boy and his ancestors, much more than that. Now come on, let me hang it on your beautiful neck. Mina gathered her hair above her neck and Michael fastened the necklace around it. Some blocks further, at the intersection of the Revolution and Constitution, two men stood next to a staircase leading down to a bar. Each man had a bottle of tequila in his hand and a small whistle in his mouth. They wore white aprons and carried white towels. One of them blew his whistle while raising the bottle of tequila and pulled Michael toward the stairs. Holding Mina's hand, Michael followed the man down the stairs to a door. As the waiter opened the door, a mixture of humdrum noise, smoke, and the blast of music rushed out. Mina and Michael followed the man to a table on the other side of the bar. It took Mina a while to get used to the dark. The place consisted of a narrow lounge with a bar on the right side and a few tables and chairs on the left. Further back, a band of local musicians played entertaining music around the dance floor. Another waiter, also blowing on his whistle, joined the first one. The noise was ear-piercing. The first waiter raised his hand and The first waiter raised his hand with tequila and pointed at Mina, grinning. Mina wanted to know what was going on. Michael nodded to the man and laughed. Nothing, just having fun. Don't panic, just relax and enjoy it. The waiter went behind Mina, looped his arm around her neck loosely, pulled her head back, and poured a few drops of tequila into her mouth. Next, he added some lime juice and sprinkled some salt. He then put the white towel on her mouth and shook her head. Michael and the other people around laughed hard. Gulp it down. He just made a margarita for you, Michael shouted joyfully. Mina, now understanding what was going on, swallowed the drink. The waiter stepped behind Michael and with the shake of his hand sought Mina's permission. Mina, with a lively laugh, gave him her approval. The waiter made another margarita. The blare of music was deafening. After a couple of rounds of margarita making, the waiters got their tips and left the two of them to themselves. The band was playing slow music. Michael took Mina's hand and guided her to the dance floor. He put his arms around her waist and laid his face on hers, and they danced to the end of the music. It was fantastic. She had never experienced such happiness and excitement in her life. On their way out, Michael kissed her lips. Mina kissed him back. A few blocks away, in front of a restaurant, a group of mariachis played a joyful music. Young couples occupied all the tables and chairs. Mina and Michael listened to the music holding hands. The mariachis, dressed in the silver-studded costumes, short jackets, high-tied black pants, and wide-brimmed hats, played violins, guitars, basses, and trumpets. Just like the movies when they stood outside of the woman's window, outside a woman's window, and sang love songs. She had read somewhere that mariachi song spoke about love, betrayal, death, politics, and revolutionary heroes. She could feel all of those in their music. The musicians near them while playing the music. The singer was an old man, his face full of pockmarks, his small eyes veiled under his bushy black eyebrows, his hair graying at the temples. Two gold teeth showed in his face when he smiled. Michael said something to Spanish to them. The musician exchanged words with the rest of the group, and when they came to an agreement, they started to sing a romantic song. Mina moved closer to Michael. Their impassioned in passionate bodies touched. Michael translated part of the song for her. Bella Maria de mi alma, beautiful Maria of my soul, considered the best love song in Spanish. A neon sign blinked above the door next to the restaurant, Hotel Magnifico. It's getting late. How about if you stay here tonight and leave for LA tomorrow? Michael asked. His query carried many unasked questions. An image of Carlos asking her to go to a party with him flashed in front of Mina's eyes. She nodded, okay. They entered the hotel through a narrow hallway. Michael exchanged some words with the receptionist. The receptionist looked into a notebook laid on his desk. We have a room with 2 beds and one with a queen bed. Which one do you want? Michael glanced at Mina. Mina, she looked away. The queen bed, por favor, Michael said. The room was on the 2nd floor above the restaurant.
We're asking a question.
Yes. Thank
The question that I have is, as I have read all your short stories before, and to me, if someone writes a novel, just like you did, another person back there did, it's a huge accomplishment. It's a huge undertaking to me, and especially when it comes to the retention. Because right now, the more I'm getting older, it's really hard for me to retain anything out here anymore. And so my question addressing you is, how did you manage to write a novel? How did you come about to write a novel, which is how many pages is your book?
260 something, about 260.
Okay, this is compared to hers is much less than what she wrote. She has about 620 pages.
No,
No, it's not?
It's on computer, no.
Yeah, okay. So I freaked out when I heard about 620 pages. But anyway, how did you accomplish it? And how did you write it, all kind of notes for yourself all around the house and finding out what was happening in chapter 1 when you're on chapter 20, for example? And I just wanted to know how you did this.
First of all, say that writing short stories is not easier than writing novels. Some people think that since short story is a piece, a small piece, so it's easier to write it. Sometimes it takes a lot of effort to write a good short story, because you have to say something that you wanted to say in very short amount of time and very short amount of text. So you might write something fast, but you have to 100 times go back and forth until you get it right. Because what you are saying, you have to say it in that time. The reader has to get what he's reading. Novel is open for you. It makes you could leave your hand open to continue and bring your points in different places. It doesn't mean that you don't have to, the first chapter, to say everything that you want to say. It's easier and harder somehow. It's easier because you are not in concentration of the time and thinking, okay, it's getting long and I have to finish this one, or I'm having too many, because in this novel you have much more incident and you have much more people in the one. But in the short story you are limited with the number of usually 1, 2, 3 or some very limited time. So this is it. But writing a novel for me was hard. As you said, I'm a short story writer mostly. And I was actually. I mean, at the end up to enjoy it so much that I think that I like to go back and write other novel now. It took me long time. It took me probably 5-6 years to write it. And even more than that, because I just started some part and let it go, and and got tired of it. I didn't continue that, leave it alone, and then like in 6 months came back to that, and I started continue that again. And you're right, at that time I had to read the whole thing again from the then to see that I'm not, mistaken. Sometimes when you get at the end, if you didn't continue writing it, you might forget about, one of the characters. I heard that even like some of the classic books people reading, they came up and find out that, I don't know who was that, was very famous, that a couple of the characters were missing at end. So never, they didn't know what happened to them, because probably the writer forgot that he had that one person at the starting and doesn't have it anymore. But it was hard, but it took time. And the good thing is the computer makes it much easier. And you're right, I was typing some notes here and there. First I was putting them in piece of paper that I had. But finally I learned that to put everything in computer. I have a laptop. So every time I thought about something, I just put it, type it, and said, without even knowing that which part is going to go. I know that this is the part that I wanted. Mina accomplished this, or Mina did that, or Mina, or some other. Mina is not the only heroine in this one. She is the main person, but I have a couple of other women that I followed their life throughout this one. Zary is her friend, is totally different kind of personality. There is a Mariam, they are friends at very first in the school, first in like the five grades, fifth grade, they were together. And then I come back at the end in the lab. They're totally different people. So I have to follow up all this. So I was just writing them in pieces in computer, and I have probably 4, 5, 6 folders, big folders in my computer, has a different version of that, different pieces, and I put it together.
Have you made any mistake in naming characters and renaming them?
Actually, it's not, when you have computer, it's easier. You do the search on like a name and see that, okay, this name was in this here, and you didn't ever, mention it at the end. And then you just, and this is not like those big, the books that I told you, usually they were like 1,000-page books and hundreds of, the characters on them. That makes mistake. But this one, I never forgot about my main people, because they are with me all the time, but I'm writing them. But there was some small, some side characters that I could find them easily in my text.
Thank you very much.
Do you follow her leaving Iran, Mina?
I'm sorry.
Do you follow her? Does she leave Iran?
Yes, yeah. The way the story starts actually is it's not like this linear that. But I'm just telling you that the time frame that is, but it's a back and forth. Mina is raised, is born a year or 2 years after 1953 CIA's coup d'etat in Iran. Her father is actually in there when the day that in Tehran that things happened. But then she lives in a very small city in Iran. She's with a very traditional family. She has very traditional family, but she has a lot of ambition. She likes to be always the best student, the best thing. And so she stays in Iran, and she grew up the time of Shah's era, and she is she go to high school right the same time that White Revolution happens in Iran. And then when she's graduated for high school, she goes to Tehran, and it's not easy for her. This is one of her big struggles. She goes to Tehran and goes to college, and there is when all the student movement in Iran started, the leftist movement in Iran started. Most of the classes are closed most of the time, and she just meets people in that time, and then she's in Iran until a week after the hostage crisis. and she leaves there to come to U.S. And when she comes to U.S., she just faces a lot of things, and she's here. And the end of the story, the end of the book is September 11, 2001. And this is, this part, Tijuana, is right after Mina's has a trouble with her husband. She's married, she has a kid. She's in trouble with her husband, and it's in the middle of separation from her husband, and she meets someone else, and she goes to Tijuana. So it's just kind of like going different places. She doesn't stay in one place. She actually, although she's not very traditional person, she's born in traditional areas with the family, but the time that she says, I want to go to Tehran and go to university, it's just like a no-no in that area. They never had a girl going from a small city in south of Iran next to the Persian Gulf and being like in a city that everybody even wearing scarf, and the mother is wearing chador and things. She just say, I want to go to Tehran. So this is like she's a lot of ahead of her time. She's very ahead of the people around her, and go to Tehran. But little by little things changed on the tradition. When first she comes to Tehran, actually she still wants to listen to things, to the people around her, and do something not the traditional culture, but the culture of the time. And the time was all politics, all the students' movement, all the intellectual things. And although she believes on them, but she also follows things because she's in the middle of all those things. She became a part of one political group without even knowing them very well. She can't go there and she just followed them without really knowing anyone or anything. But when she comes here and she thinks about it, she started to see she's a person. She looks at herself as a person that has the right to think and choose. And this is actually happened when something happened in her life, and she has a daughter of 13 years old that she wants to live, and she decide, and she just think of why she's 13 years old girl can decide about her life, and I'm like 39 years old. I still haven't, made my mind what I want to do, and I don't go for what I want. So I'm sure that the culture or the environment, the laws and everything can affect them.
This book happened, so many historical events happened in this book. I want to know how faithful you were when you were referring to the
Yes, Elham is right. There are some of those events. This book, some of events is true events. So this story is really happening around the true events. And one thing that it might be related to what you're asking is, I have some saying from the E.L. Doctorow, is one of the greatest American writers, and he wrote himself a lot of books that based on a lot of historical events in U.S. And he says the historian will tell you what happened, the novelist will tell you what it felt like. So that is what happened. There are a lot of events, but that was not really my intent to write the events. That I leave it to the historian to write that. But I wanted to show that what happened to people on that, like it was a white revolution. A lot of things that happened. I'm not talking about that, but in that small city, and what happened after that, I remember that what happened when I happened to be living in this one small city in that time, because my father, I was not from there, but my father has some work there, and he was there. So I tried to be very faithful to what happened when we went to to the streets and had a lot of slogans and what we said. And these are all from my memory. Might not be right. When you cite a memoir, something from your memory doesn't mean there are facts. You don't have to go back and make sure that that fact was happening. Maybe that memory of someone is also totally from it. But the one about the Iranian Revolution, 1979 revolution, from the time that she goes to Tehran, is a lot of things based on the real things. And as I said, I started to write them from my memory. I went back and checked on some of the events because, like, I wasn't sure. I wasn't like that Black Friday or Shahrivar. I was not there, but for whatever reason, I wanted to show that one in this book. So I had to go to read about it. So I read that one, and maybe some other historians are not agree with that. Maybe someone else being there see it totally different way. And if the people say, "Oh, it was not like that," I say, "Oh, yeah, you see it somewhere else." So it's I don't want that to refer to someone says, come and say, "Okay, that date that you said is not exactly this not happened." Right, this is a fiction. It did not happen. But I try to use my memories about the specific historical events in Iran happened. Like, any those Tasua, Ashura demonstrations that people had, the day that Khomeini came back to Iran, the day that Khomeini died, So those are all mostly coming from my memory. But I don't combine it with my life. I combine it with Mina's life. Thank you.
I just picked up some words from you. One was, you just said that Mina's characteristic or Mina personality is kind of naive. And also I picked up another word that you said you were not interested in describing the events. So you just...
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
You didn't? Oh, maybe I got it wrong. I don't know. But
she said she didn't like to describe the history.
History, right.
But,
or just touching it, very basically, or just on the surface, right? But my question is, because the main character is a woman, Mina, in this book, have you helped her to develop, and have you helped her to describe, to develop, of moving from one country, coming to another country, and also going through lots of events? For example, one of the things you said that she married someone that she wasn't even in love with, right? And have you tried to describe and help her to develop her personality, to learn or to dig in why she did this or why she did that? Did you describe that in the book?
Actually, what you're saying, this is a job of a writer. When you write a character, this is your job to, although that's a fictional person, but you have to help her to develop. You have to put her through a series of the incidents, a series of the things that's happening that this person learns and develops and age. But how much I was successful to do that, this is up to you. You have the right, reader should tell me.
Because I've read so many books, especially about Iran's revolution and the people's experiences coming over or going to different countries and all that, that they got so much hooked up with the events.
Events, right.
And forget the personalities or the people inside the events.
That's true. That's why I read you that, or I brought that to quote from the doctor. And I said that I'm not a historian. I don't want it to my book to be dominated by the history. And but I had to say that because these are what happened that Mina's personality developed. Mina was born in a certain time of history of Iran that I was there too. And I, as a person, I know all those things shaped my personality. I have a lot of friends. Even yesterday I got a letter from someone that I sent a book for. It was a friend that I know. We were working together years ago, and there is a section in this that what happened when in Iran they announced that women have to wear veil. That was the same day, actually, was March 8th, the International Women's Day. And I showed that how people went for the International Women's Day for the demonstration, and they got into this, and also the whole thing was combined. That's happened to me. I was in my work, in office, and when we heard this one, all these women, that some of them were activists, and some of them were not even knowing anything about it, including some people, Armenian people or Jewish people, and they were just getting this order that you have to wear veils from the so they didn't know what to do. So we had to kind of like gather together, and we talked about this, and we finally decided, oh, go and with the other woman and go to the street and talk about it. I'm sure that this part of this is not written, not historian can write that one. That was inside of the office. It was experience for some women that were working in that office. It was not, if someone wants to write a history, say, oh, there was a demonstration that day that was happened to be 8th of March, and women were there, and they were just walked from one side of Tehran to other side, and what happened to them. But I don't think they can tell you that how those women felt in that time, what happened to them, what the people who were just shoulder to shoulder with men and fighting for bringing, this revolution or this whatever was happening, or whatever revolution happened. They were side by side of all these men, shoulder to shoulder with this man. But when it was the victory came, they said, okay, you can stay home and you wear your chador and you are not as equal as men. So that's what my point was. Now you look at the history and you see this is happening, but how these people felt is different. And my friend that I told you I got the letters, I said, thank you for reminding me all those days. I cried when I read this one. She said that I cried when I read that one. I just went back to that day and felt that I remember my feeling, what was happening that day. So I hope I was successful at that. I don't know. This is going to be all up to the readers to tell me. I know that some people read it, other don't read, I think. And I don't know, some people read it here. Maybe, I don't know, Fariba, you read it, the book or not, or what?
In Farsi, but unfortunately I didn't have a chance to read it in English, but it's my plan for the edit.
Yeah, thank you. So, I hope that I feel that I think that I was successful to develop her things and make it believable and show you guys this. But what happens, I think this is good to read it and you tell me.
We'll let you know.
No more questions?
Yeah, we have questions.
Okay, go ahead.
This guy has
You have
questions.
too many questions.
Yeah, I have. In fact.
That's great.
Now that she mentioned that this book was originally published in Farsi, and now it's in English.
It was not published in English. I started writing it in Farsi. The very first version was in Farsi. And I worked on that for a couple of years. And when I finished it, I went back to that. I was not happy with it, to tell the truth. I looked at that. There was many things. Yeah, some places like the history was weighing more than what I wanted to say, more than people. And the language was not good either, because it was a time that, as a person who, I started to read and write more in English, so my Farsi got really kind of trouble too, and not in English, it was in the middle of the thing. So some of the people that read this, they know that some of the sections was even was in Farsi, but some section was all in Farsi, in English. The very first chapter was totally in English. A couple of things was in middle of that in English. Whatever it was easier for me, I was writing in that language. And I thought that's good. I think it still is good to have, different language, but it makes it hard for people. Some Iranians want to read it. Some chapters in English they cannot, understand, or English people read it, and English language people, they can read it and they don't understand. So then I decided I wanted to rewrite the book. When I decided, I think that Fariba probably didn't see it right after I decided to rewrite it. So I put it aside, the whole book aside, and started writing it. I just kept the chapters was in English and then rewrote the one. And I made a lot of changes. Some people read it, they know the structure is different, the way that Mina's development is a little bit different. The incidents are the same, the time frame is the same, but the way it was developed is much different.
Right.
If you don't let me down.
No, she answered me. She answered, but I wanted to know. Just.
No more?
Yeah, well, just one more.
Okay.
This is I know I asked so many questions. I hope you don't mind.
No.
That's
Actually,
what he does. So, how do you feel about writing that book? When you look back and you see what kind of satisfaction have you got?
I think that I accomplished something that I wanted to accomplish for years. I wanted to write this book. It was something that I was thinking about it a lot. So now it's done. At least I'm free to go think about some other things, to do some other stuff. That's one feeling. When you are all full of one story or one book, it's very hard to think about something else. Now I'm looking at this book from outside. When I was not writing it, I was in the middle of that. I couldn't put it somewhere and look at that and say, oh, what are the problem of this book, how it happened. Sometimes when I read it, I just, oh, yeah, I wrote that one, I wrote this first part, or why did I do it, I think. But I was not doing it in that time. I was so inside it. And also, actually, probably I should mention something in my other meeting I had last week in Irvine. Someone asked me that, what happened you wrote this book? Why you wrote this book? How did this started? And my answer was that years ago, even before although it started the book, the first one of that is Mina going from Los Angeles to New York, September 10, 2001, going from there. But actually this started my thought years before that. And I was sitting in a plane, traveling from Los Angeles to New York. I was working as a consultant, computer consultant, and I happened to be for the first time I was sitting in the first class, totally different. I mean, it was sitting there, and it was all paid for with through my employer. So I was really enjoying it. It was, I'm sitting there. Flight attendant come there and help me, they ask me what I wanted, they give me menu to choose your food, they gave me cookies, it's just everybody, brought me blanket, and I felt very good about myself in that time. And then I remember that when I was very young, in my teenage years, I always wanted to travel places. I was saying that I want to go see all over the world. I want to see other people. I want to know other people. So I thought that's the only way I can do it is I become a pilot. And I was just thinking, I really was thinking that I want to be a pilot. They was so strange for everybody that I want to be a pilot. It was the very first thought, oh no, you're going to be mehmandar. You have to do it. So every time I was traveling and seeing these mehmandars, and I said, no, this is not I want. Not that I'm insulting their job is good, but that was not me. I didn't want it. So when I was sitting here, I said, oh, what happened? What did happen that the person that people were always going through my dreams, everybody was telling me I have to become a flight attendant. Now I'm sitting here and I'm getting service from the flight attendant. I'm getting service from the pilot who's taking me there. And then, right after a sudden, Mina was born in my mind. that Mina is a woman, living in a very traditional society with all its restrictions and with all this undevelopment, whatever, the way all the undevelopment countries are. And then she comes to U.S. and she gets, I don't know if you were in U.S. in that time. I mean, you cannot even say you are Iranian. You say Iranian and everybody was, kind of attacking you, not attacking you physically. So I was told I have to say I'm Afghan, I'm not Iranian. I was coming out of my home and I see that someone wrote there, says, go home, you filthy Iranian. And so, but I'm Iranian. Right now, when I was in the plane and going, my employer knows I'm Iranian. I was the same person. But now they were, respecting more, and it was different. So I thought I want a woman that, kind of like coming for that and doing something to go through her dreams or whatever he's believing by even going through a lot of problems. She overcome all those. And then in the meantime, I really like to write about my experience in Iran, what happened, and it happened to be, during the revolution and the years that I was there. One other thing was, I'm reading a lot of books, mentioning those years. A lot of American people know what happened, women when there were veils and then chador, and they said, death to the Shah, and they said, Khomeini, you are your soldiers and things. But nobody even talk, I mean, maybe some historian does, but not really the literature. Nobody talk about what happened to the left people, intellectuals, people of that. They were not, what happened that they were interested, they got attracted to the Islamic Revolution, Islamic government. How they were just tricked to believe that they wanted, how they were tricked. And this is what really happened to our generation, that happened in Iran. And so I wanted to have Mina that experienced all these years and going through all this stuff and going through the different things. And also, this was a part of our culture or our society or history that when I talk to, especially to American people, say, what? You had like left people that there that time too? How did you, they always think that this was just starting with the religious people and went through that one. And they don't know that how it happened to the other people not religious. We never believed in Khomeini. We didn't want Khomeini. We didn't even think about, Khomeini going to be, our leader at that time.
Let me ask you the last question. I know that this book is very interesting for Iranian people. We all feel some connection with this book. How was your non-Iranian readers' response to it?
Actually, that's a very good question, because actually I'm very happy. I still don't have that many readers. I can't say that thousands of the readers read that one and like that one. But I can just say that even I have like many author talks like this, and which is half and half American and Iranian, go to their libraries, and I got very good feedback actually. People came to me and told me, oh, we didn't know about that. We didn't know that you were doing like that. There's one place that Mina saying, okay, the first is she's glad that people don't ask her if she is still riding in camel, or she was riding in camel. That was actually the way people were thinking about Iran, And people come and say, okay, I didn't know that. What happened? Oh, I'm glad that that I read this book. I have a different idea about Iran or about the woman. Yeah, actually, I get a lot of good. If you look at, you happen to read Mina's Revolution Facebook page. A lot of people, I ask them when they write me something, if I can put it there, I put that one. I get very good feedback from the American readers.
Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being with us. usually at this time of our event, our great librarian comes over and their authors
Okay.
donate one of the books to them.
Sure.
How are you?
Thank you so much
Okay,
for coming.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. If anybody is interested, I'm sure you all are interested to buy a book, so it's the time. And thank you again. Thank you so much for being with us.
Opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.